That's important. Why? Because when you go through school, science is taught in really simplistic terms. If you look at modern science, all these theories are telling you that what you perceive from the world is an illusion. Modern science has limitations, and these limitations gives ample room for religion. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So chapter 2, re-evaluating faith in science. So here I stand ready to take on this journey toward truth with the aim of achieving inner peace. In order to fully explore new horizons, other religions maybe, or new ideologies, I choose to re-evaluate the basis on which my conception of the world stands, which is science. I've been again formatted with decades of scientific trainings. So in other words, I'm going to re-evaluate using scientific reasoning, that's because of where I'm coming from, what I used to consider a scientific truth. That's important. This re-evaluation is important. Why? Because when you go through school, science is taught in really simplistic terms. Naturally, understandably, if you teach things that are too high level, you'll lose the student, and most probably the teacher won't be adequately equipped, like knowledge-wise, to teach this material. So you teach simple science. You teach the kids about maybe Newton's third law, like action reactions, and you assume that it is real, it is true, and that's a good description of reality. And then as you progress, you start learning about, okay, maybe it's not exactly that, maybe in some case it doesn't fit, the laws change, and you end up with quantum mechanics, or you end up with relativity, which are better theories. But again, these are not final. We know they're not final. And people are developing new theories, like quantum field theory, the grand overarching M theory. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that because it is taught in simplistic way initially, and if you stop the training here, people will end up with a simplistic conception of science. And they will think that this science is the reality. If there's no alternative that is taught, that's it. This becomes reality. That simplistic idea of science becomes reality. It becomes a type of scientism, a simplistic view of the world. And this you have to be able to unlearn, to deconstruct. So I posit that this reevaluation takes place into 4 stages. First, I think it is necessary to be aware of the limits of one's physical ability, as well as the scope of one's current understanding of the world. Like our conception of the world, our understanding of the world, scientific understanding, is limited. You have to understand, to realize what the limitations are, to see that it gives room to religion. That's the first point. The second, I show that one can overcome these limitations by, for example, using probabilities. So we have tools to go beyond, but you just push the limit a bit further, a new limit appears. Third, from a scientific point of view, I illustrate that a set of probabilities, or more generally, a set of indirect proofs, are sufficient to validate an abstract concept, whether it is quantum mechanics, relativity, the idea of an electron, for example, or the existence of God. That's important. It's like the same rationale would be used to justify either the existence of an electron or the existence of God. Fourth, I show that the current scientific understanding of the world only demonstrates its exceptionality. That's important. Even more than exceptionality. If you look at modern science, whether it's like quantum mechanics, relativity, quantum field theory, and others, all these theories are telling you that what you perceive from the world is an illusion. Modern science literally tells you that what you perceive directly from the world is an illusion. To give a simplistic example, when you wake up in the morning, you see the sun rising from one side and setting on the other. But science tells you no. You're the one who moves from one side to the other. You just don't feel it. the sun stays fixed and the earth moves around. You just don't realize it. So science tells you that what you perceive, the sun moving, is an illusion. It's you who moves around. And it will be the same for all other modern scientific theories. So in conclusion, I argue that the idea of the divine is no more simplistic than an atheistic conception of the universe. Again, I'm not trying to convince that religion is true. I am convinced that religion is true, that Islam is best. But my point is really to share a thought process with others here. So I will argue that the idea of the divine is no more simplistic than an atheistic conception of the universe. On the contrary, the uniqueness of the world can serve as an evidence to support a theist worldview. So I'm showing that, again, that scientific view of the world has limitations, and these limitations gives ample room for religion. On the contrary, to think that what you cannot measure with scientific instrument does not exist, that's the bias, that's the fault in logic.